So I watched this video recently on YouTube from LV5454. This video was made several months ago, so I'm definitely behind in this response to the video. However, it's something that's always used to slight Shawn Michaels, and so because of that, and with me being a huge Shawn Michaels fan, I just wanted to address this. The video was talking about how Shawn Michaels should not be the greatest superstar of all time. And often it's brought up that during Shawn Michaels' peak, uh, he was the company was at its worst. And I think that's a totally unfair thing to do. Let me tell you one thing: Shawn Michaels is the greatest superstar of all time. And before I go into really trying to explain the whole thing about the peak of Shawn Michaels and the lowest, the valley of WWE, let's say this: you said that Undertaker should be up there in that list because he's over for so many years. But Shawn Michaels was there before Taker and was over all the way through. Shawn didn't need championships to stay over. Well, Undertaker started to need championships to stay relevant. So everything now has to be a championship for Undertaker. Where Shawn was actually able to go through feuds. The greatest feuds probably of the last 10 years have probably involved Shawn Michaels. We're talking about the Chris Jericho Shawn Michaels feud. Both of them were great. The Shawn Michaels Undertaker feud, both of them, great. Shawn Michaels Triple H, great. When you put Shawn Michaels into a feud, a match, or anything like that, it was better than what it should have been. So much so that Shawn Michaels got Vince McMahon a Match of the Year award. Who else can do that? Shawn Michaels was one of is the greatest superstar of all time, and look at his track record. Not the biasness of who he was, not the idea of you know, not looking at what you don't like about him and how he did this backstage politics and all that. No, don't look at all that. Look at the quality he presented over his career, from a tag team innovator with the Rockers, from the ladder match innovator with Scott Hall, to the Hell in a Cell match that he put on, to just everything he shot over his career. There is nobody who has influenced wrestling to the magnitude that Shawn Michaels has in the last 20 years. I stand by that wholeheartedly. I think Ric Flair might be the most influential the wrestler of all time. But Shawn Michaels is definitely up there. There's no way that you can deny that. Look at his body of work. His body of work speaks for itself. There's never a time where you say that someone else did more for wrestling than Shawn Michaels. Now, people love to bring up how Stone Cold came in and saved WWE during its low point. False, false, false. Numbers, you look at the numbers. During Scott Hall's run as WWE champion, the WWE averaged maybe about a 2.3 Raw rating. During Bret Hart's title run, it was about a 2.3 rating. And during Shawn Michaels' title run, it was a 2.3 rating. This was very low for the time when you look at how WCW was pulling in ratings in the threes at that point in time. We'll go with that. Shawn, Bret, Diesel, 2.3s. However, what people don't seem to realize is that during Shawn Michaels' second run, not his second run, during his third run, which involved the DX, him and DX, they was averaging a 3.13. Now, during Shawn's first run as WWE champion, Undertaker was gone for a while, Bret Hart was gone for a while. Matches heavily feature Duke the Dumpster Carosi. They heavily featured Aldo Montoya. They heavily featured Savio Vega. This is the card that Shawn Michaels had to support him going into his matches. Well, who did Stone Cold have during his time? He had The Rock. He had Triple H, which, might I add, Triple H, big rub came from being in DX with Shawn Michaels. But that's needless to say. But now, when you look at some of the biggest stars of the 90s, they were associated with Shawn Michaels. We're talking about Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Triple H. These guys changed wrestling technically, and they were there with Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels got these, was with these guys But you look at the idea that Stone Cold had The Rock, he had Triple H, he had The Undertaker, he had Kane. Undertaker who was doing Undertaker who was still between the Ministry of Darkness and doing the whole the American Badass gimmick. You had Vince McMahon, who was at this time the best heel wrestler ever seen at this time. Vince McMahon was also he was the perfect foil to Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is the supporting card that you had for Stone Cold Steve Austin. You know, so Steve Austin he can do this thing. Steve was feuding with Vince McMahon. He was feuding with The Rock, Triple H. These guys are still over to this day. But Shawn Michaels, everyone always says that Shawn kept the company afloat because he was so over. You could go look on YouTube and see clips of this man coming down the aisle and the fans knocking over barricades trying to get to him because he was just that big, that major. The problem was at the time was that the supporting cast sucked. Ahmed Johnson was decent. Don't get me wrong, he was okay. But when the Rock showed up, you could tell just how weak everyone else in WWE was from when the Rock popped up. Only ones who were able to come back and really sustain any momentum in WWE was the Shawn Michaels, because they were just that good. Shawn Michaels the only one from the 96, 95, 96 period that could still thrive in the Attitude Era and forward. He's the only one that could have done that. It's that simple. You talk about the Undertaker being one of the greatest, because of how long he's been doing this. Once again, I say this again. Taker did nothing that Shawn Michaels had not already done. There's nothing Taker did that Shawn didn't do. You know, Shawn has done things that Taker has never done, though, like putting on the greatest matches of the last 20 years. That's what Shawn Michaels has done. So I agree that yeah, he might have been there during the Valley, but you gotta look at WWE as a company was horrible, horrible. WWE when Stone Cold got there had improved significantly, and part of it was also because of Shawn Michaels and like we gotta remember Shawn Michaels and Undertaker and Bret Hart and that whole feud during that time was great, but it also incorporated Stone Cold in it. It had Stone Cold involved in that. You had all this stuff going on during that time that really made it great. And the Rams went back up when Shawn had a stronger supporting cast. That's it in a nutshell. Be more Reese Jade. Responding, HBK, greatest of all time. I agree.